Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining me today on the My Bourbon Journey Whiskey Review channel. So something I'm excited to kind of bring to you, it's a newer revived brand, which is William Tarr Distilling Company out of Lexington, Kentucky. So what is this? So it's a Kentucky straight whiskey. And why is that? So this is going to be a blend of a bourbon and a rye. So I'll kind of go into some of this here because the complexity of these mash bills that are kind of blended together are kind of very interesting. So it's kind of what we all think of as a boo rye. So a bourbon and rye blend. And what is it? So it's a blend of a 7-year bourbon and an 8-year rye whiskey. So right now they're doing all of their whiskeys are all being sourced. It's all undisclosed at this point, but what are the mash bills? So let's first start out with the bourbon. So the bourbon is a mash bill of 75% corn, 13% rye, 12% malted barley. And the 8-year rye whiskey is going to be a mash bill of 37% corn, 51% rye, 12% malted barley. And the percentages of both of those mash bill is 10% bourbon, 90% rye. So obviously it's a high rye content in terms of the overall blend. So it's a very interesting and unique both mash bills and the blending part of it. So I think that'll translate over to, again, another interesting whiskey. So this particular bourbon, so this is what they're calling the Manchester Reserve. So they're age stating it as 7 years because it's the minimum age of the whiskey, you know, in the blend. And it's coming in at 114 proof or 57% ABV. Again, as I stated, age stated as 7 years, and the MSRP on this is going to be right around that $80 price point. So a lot of stuff going on with this. It'll be interesting to see how all of that kind of translates over to both the nose and the palate. So color-wise, as you can see, let me move this around in the glass a little bit. Nice oils. Really like how it's clinging to the glass. Really, really kind of heavy, actually. So let's see what we got here. Color-wise, I'd say it's probably a lighter mahogany, like a kind of a deeper copper type of color for the most part. So, all right, let's get into the nose here. Oh man. First, I mean, it's just, you're hit with this really nice, big, bold rye spice, like right away. Nice cinnamon note to it. The mint aspect is really nice. It wasn't there. Moved the whiskey around a little bit. The mint really started to kind of come out in this for me. Really nice kind of fresh caramel notes on this. Nice sweet oak. A little bit of like a cornbread, like a buttered cornbread aspect. Really nice kind of vanilla. Vanilla kind of came in a little bit late for me there. Baker's chocolate is kind of also ringing a bell. It's not where it's super sweet chocolate. It's more of that, I don't want to say bitter, but it's more of the kind of like a chalky type of chocolate in a good way. There's still this maybe like a cacao where it's not super sweet, but you know it's that chocolate aspect to it. Even some dark fruits kind of coming out there as well. Even a citrus, and I would say for me, this is probably more on the orange zest or orange citrus side of things. It's a really nice nose. It's interesting. There's some nice complexity there, but I think a lot of that will probably shine a little bit more in the tasting part of it. So let's get into that right now. Cheers. Absolutely fantastic spice or rye spice right away. You're then kind of hit with that nice like dark fruit aspect to it. Really heavy like on the raspberries, like the plum, the strawberries. And it's more of a dried dark fruit, more of the intense dark fruits, I would say, on this one. There's a little bit of an effervescence. It's bright on this as well. Mint really kind of starts to shine through a little bit more on this one as well. Nice caramel notes. So you get like some of the caramel, the vanillas, maybe from the bourbon side of it. And then the spice, the boldness of that kind of kicks in with the rye. The mint is definitely there as well. Yeah, some of the vanilla kind of started to come through a little bit more. I would say the baker's chocolate now starts to kind of come out as you swallow, and it kind of starts to slowly transition over to the finish. The baker's chocolate kind of comes out a little bit more in this one. Even get like a slight pastry note on it as well. Maybe even a little bit of like a coffee bean on this as well. Yeah, it's really nice. I mean, it's kind of all over the place, which is nice, which is something that you kind of seek, you know, in a good quality whiskey, is the transitions that it can give you, where you get a lot of that complexity, and that's where you get here's what I would say with this. The magic is in the blending of these. So whoever is in charge of doing the blending is doing a fantastic job. It's taking you on this journey of different flavors. And that's what you like in a good quality crafted whiskey, is that you're constantly getting these different profiles along the way. We all have had, you know, bourbons and ryes that are one or two dimensional. It doesn't give you a lot. This is kind of taking you on these different kind of waves or journeys, so to speak, of, you know, these different profiles or different flavors that it's giving you along the way. So that's really nice, and something that I think a lot of people are really kind of wanting in a whiskey, especially when you're spending $80, $100, $150. And again, this is coming in at $80. I would already say, based on its profile, it's worth all of $80, hands down. It's a really, really nice, well put together whiskey. Not a bourbon or a rye. It's a boo rye. It's a blend of, again, the bourbons and the ryes, heavy on the rye side of things, as I mentioned before. So the more I kind of talked, the more the orange citrus kind of started to come out a little bit late for me in this one. So again, it's all over these nice, you know, different waves of flavors, which is something I love when that happens in a whiskey, when you kind of just get all of these different, you know, types of things coming out along the way. Yeah, that nice mint. The rye spice is fantastic on this. It's just a really nice balance. I can see where the quality of the rye in this was really well balanced with even a small amount, 10% of the bourbon in this, just kind of really rounded this out. The citrus is now really starting for me to kind of come out as we get into the finish part of it. And I would say if we do transition over to the finish part, you're heavy on the baking spices. There's a little bit of that, again, that baker's chocolate, that citrus that's there. Again, you still get a little bit of the vanillas and the caramels from the bourbon, but the spice that's there, it's a really nice, well balanced and well put together, well blended whiskey, I would say. So, and for $80, you know, it's age stated as 7 years. That's the minimum age on the whiskey in this. It's blends of 7-year bourbon, 8-year ryes. So it's got some really nice, you know, ages. And the 8-year on the rye, that's a nice age on a rye. So I would give this at $80. I would definitely give this a buy recommendation. And again, I think this is a whiskey that the more traction it gets, the more people that know about this, I think they're gonna really truly appreciate this for what it is. And I think this is a quality, you know, whiskey. And I'm impressed. I'm pleasantly surprised by ultimately what this has to offer. And again, I think a lot of people, as they taste this, are going to be also very impressed by what this has to offer. So with that being said, so there you have it. So this is from the William Tarr Distillery out of Lexington, Kentucky. And again, just to kind of recap, 114 proof, 57% ABV. It's a blend of 7-year bourbon and an 8-year rye. You can reference back to the beginning of the video for the mash bills. Comes in at $80. I think it's a good price point for what this is and what it has to offer. So I would definitely give it a buy recommendation. So if for some reason you've had this, I know it's newer to the market, and I think as of the first part of 2021, now basically, during the filming of this, it's now being kind of really introduced. So if you've had this, I would love to hear your feedback, your thoughts on this specifically. You know, what are some of your experiences with it? Did you get some of the same tasting or nosing notes that I got as well? And just kind of how you are enjoying it as well. So with that being said, I want to say thank you so much for tuning into another one of my reviews. If you'd like to follow me, you can on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of those places at My Bourbon Journey. If you'd like to help support the channel, it's greatly appreciated. You can do that at the link in the description below, which is my Patreon page. Also want to say thank you again so much for tuning into another one of my reviews. And as always, remember, it's about the journey and not the destination. Cheers.